The starship Harmony's light moved slowly through the empty space at the galaxy's edge. Captain Vexistar stood on the bridge, his crystal body catching the light from distant stars. His people, the Althani, were known for their calm nature and careful thinking. This mission was supposed to be simple. Check the outer rim for any new planets or resources. "Captain," called out the navigation officer, a blue-skinned Zalani named Toresh. "We're getting strange readings from Sector 7 Alpha. There's energy coming from there, but our maps say that area is dead." Vextar moved closer to look at the readings. The area had been marked as lifeless for over 800 years. Cosmic radiation was supposed to have killed everything there long ago. Yet the sensors showed clear signs of life and technology. Could it be a mistake? Vextar asked. "No, sir," said Toresh. "The readings are too strong and too organized. Someone is living there." Du-hyun sat at the engineering station trying to keep his face calm. He had been working on this ship for 3 years now. The crew thought he was a modified Turlan, a species known for being quiet and good with machines. His real appearance was hidden by genetic treatments and careful surgery. Only one other person on the ship knew his secret. So Jin worked at the science station nearby. She was also human, but the crew believed she was a Karathi researcher. Her people were known for being smart and curious about everything. She caught Do-hyun's eye and gave him a small, worried look. They both knew what Sector 7 Alpha really was. "Set course for those energy readings," Captain Vexistar ordered, "but keep our shields up and weapons ready. We don't know what we'll find." The ship turned and headed toward the mysterious signals. As they got closer, the readings became stronger. Whatever was out there had powerful technology, more powerful than most council worlds. "Captain," Sojin said, trying to keep her voice steady, "I'm seeing something very strange. The energy patterns don't match any known technology in our databases." "What kind of patterns?" Vextar asked. "Clean fusion reactions, but not the kind we use. These are more advanced, and there are gravity waves that suggest they can control space-time itself." The bridge crew looked at each other with surprise. The Galactic Council had been using the same basic technologies for thousands of years. New discoveries were rare and exciting. "There's more," said the tactical officer, a large Vorthak named Greshtar. "I'm seeing ships moving near a planet. Small ones, but they're moving faster than they should be able to." "Faster how?" Vextar asked. "They're traveling at speeds that should tear them apart, but they seem fine. And Captain, I think they've noticed us." On the main screen, a blue-green planet appeared. It had white clouds and large oceans. Cities dotted the surface, connected by bright lines of light. Ships moved between the planet and several space stations. It was clearly a thriving world. "This is impossible," whispered Toresh. "The radiation should have killed everything here centuries ago." "Maybe our records are wrong," Vextar said. "Prepare a communication signal. Let them know we come in peace." Du-hyun's hands shook slightly as he worked at his station. He wanted to run, to hide, to do anything except stay here, but there was nowhere to go. Sojin looked just as scared. "Captain," Greshtar said, "3 of their ships are heading our way. They're moving very fast, but they don't have weapons charged." "Good, that's a peaceful sign." The ships that approached were unlike anything in the Council databases. They were smooth and silver, with no visible engines or weapons. They moved like they were dancing through space. "Incoming transmission," said the communications officer. "Put it on screen." The face that appeared made several crew members gasp. It looked almost like a Turlan, but different. The features were softer. The eyes were rounder, and there was something about the expression that seemed more alive than most species. "Welcome to Haven Colony," the being said in perfect council standard. "I am Wubin, leader of this settlement. We don't get many visitors out here. Are you in need of help?" Vextar stepped forward. "I am Captain Vextar of the Galactic Council ship Harmony's Light. We detected your energy signatures and came to investigate. We weren't aware of any colonies in this sector." Wubin smiled in a way that seemed genuinely warm. "That's because we prefer to keep to ourselves. But you're welcome to visit. We'd be happy to share what we have." "What species are you?" Vextar asked. "You don't match any in our databases." "We call ourselves humans," Wubin said. "We've been here for a very long time." Do-hyun felt like his heart had stopped. Sojin gripped her console so hard her knuckles turned white. The name that couldn't be spoken aloud had just been said in front of the entire bridge crew. "Humans?" Vextar repeated. "I'm sorry, but that name isn't in our records either." "Perhaps there was a translation error." "No error," Wubin said, still smiling. We are humans. Would you like to come down to the surface? We have food and comfortable places to rest. It's been so long since we've had visitors from the inner worlds. Vextar looked around at his crew. Everyone seemed curious and excited. A new species was always big news for the council. We would be honored to visit, Vextar said. Excellent. I'll send you landing coordinates. And don't worry about the radiation in this sector. We've learned how to shield against it. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in excited chatter. But Do-hyun and Sojin sat in silence, knowing that their carefully hidden lives were about to change forever. Prepare a landing party, Vextar ordered. This could be the discovery of the century. As the ship headed toward the planet, Do-hyun wondered if the humans below knew what they had just done. For 800 years, humanity had stayed hidden at the galaxy's edge. Now they had revealed themselves to the very council that had tried to destroy them. The secret was out, and there was no going back. The landing shuttle touched down in a large clearing outside the human city. Captain Vextar stepped out first, followed by his team of 6 officers. Do-hyun and Sojin had volunteered for the landing party, though both felt sick with worry. The city before them was beautiful. White buildings rose in gentle curves, connected by bridges that seemed to float in the air. Gardens grew everywhere and the air smelled clean and fresh. People moved through the streets below, all with the same soft features they had seen on Wubin. Welcome to Haven, said a voice behind them. They turned to see Wubin approaching with several other humans. I hope your journey down was comfortable. Very much so, Vextar replied. Your technology is impressive. We've never seen ships move like yours. Wubin smiled sadly. We've had a long time to develop new ways of doing things. This is Yunha, our chief scientist, and Hanul, our historian. Yunha was a woman with kind eyes and gray in her hair. Hanul was much older with deep lines on his face and a walking stick carved from some dark wood. Come, Wubin said. Let me show you around. But first, are you hungry? We have food prepared. The aliens followed the humans into the city. People stopped to stare at them, but not with fear. Children waved and smiled. Adults nodded politely. It was the friendliest welcome any of them had ever received on a first contact mission. They entered a large building with walls made of some clear material that wasn't quite glass. Inside, tables were set with food that smelled wonderful. The humans had prepared dishes that looked safe for all the different alien biologies. How did you know what we could eat? Asked Dr. Zintar, the ship's medical officer. We've studied the council species for a long time, Yunha said quietly. We know what's safe for each of you. As they ate, Vextar asked questions about human society, their technology, and their history. The humans answered carefully, but Do-hyun could see they were building up to something big. Finally, Hanul set down his cup and looked at the aliens with tired eyes. There's something you need to know, he said. Something about who we really are and why we're here. We're listening, Vextar said. Hanul stood slowly and walked to a wall. He touched it and images appeared, star maps, pictures of ships and documents with council seals. 847 years ago, Hanul began, humans were not hiding at the galaxy's edge. We lived throughout the known worlds. We had hundreds of colonies, trade agreements, and diplomatic relations with most council species. The aliens listened with growing surprise. There was no record of this in any council database. We were members of the Galactic Council, Hanul continued. Not the most powerful members, but we contributed. We shared our knowledge freely. We helped where we could. Images showed humans working alongside aliens, building stations, sharing technology, solving problems together. Then the council made a decision, Hanul said, his voice growing hard. They decided we were too dangerous to exist. What do you mean? Vextar asked. Hanul touched the wall again. New images appeared. Council meeting records, voting tallies, and communications marked top secret. The council voted to exterminate humanity, Hanul said simply. All of us. Every man, woman, and child. The aliens sat in shocked silence. Do-hyun felt tears on his face, but he didn't try to hide them anymore. That's impossible, Dr. Zintar whispered. The council doesn't do such things. Read the records, Hanul said. The documents were clear and detailed. Species after species had voted to eliminate humans, calling them too aggressive, too unpredictable, and a threat to galactic stability. The attack began on a day we call the Great Silence, Hanul continued. Council fleets appeared at every human world simultaneously. They used biological weapons, orbital bombardment, and poisoned atmospheres. Billions died in the first week. More images flashed on the wall. Burning cities, fleeing ships, and lists of dead worlds. Some of us escaped, Hanul said. A few thousand, maybe 10,000 total. We ran to the galaxy's edge and hid. We've been hiding ever since. Vextar's crystal body had turned a deep blue, a sign of extreme distress in his species. The official records say humans destroyed themselves in civil wars. The Council wrote those records, Hanul said. They wanted to hide their crime. But why? Asked Greshtar, the Vorthak tactical officer. Why would the Council do such a thing? Yunha spoke for the first time since the meal began. Because we were different. We asked too many questions. We wanted to explore beyond the established territories. We proposed changes to how the Council worked. Some species thought we would eventually challenge their power. So they killed us all, Hanul said. Or tried to. He touched the wall one more time and the images changed to show a massive memorial. Billions of names were carved into black stone that stretched as far as the eye could see. Every human who died in the Great Silence, Hanul said. We remember them all. Captain Vextar stood and walked to the memorial image. His people had voted to exterminate humans. His own ancestors had participated in genocide. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so very sorry. You didn't know, Wubin said gently. Most people don't. The truth was buried deep. Du-hyun couldn't stay quiet anymore. He stood up, his hands shaking. Captain, he said. I need to tell you something. Vextar turned to look at him. I'm human, Do-hyun said. So is Sojin. We've been hiding on your ship for years. The other aliens stared at them in shock. Sojin nodded, tears in her eyes. We've been working among you, learning about you, trying to stay safe, Do-hyun continued. There are others like us throughout the galaxy. Humans who survived by pretending to be other species. How many? Vextar asked quietly. Thousands, Sojin said. Maybe tens of thousands. We're scattered across the rim worlds, hidden in plain sight. Vextar sat down heavily. His world had just been turned upside down. Everything he thought he knew about history was wrong. What do you want from us? He asked the humans. Nothing, Wubin said. We just wanted you to know the truth. We're tired of hiding, tired of lying about who we are. If the galaxy is ready to face what it did to us, then maybe we can finally come home. The memorial wall continued to show names, scrolling endlessly through the billions of humans who had died for the crime of being different. And in that moment, Captain Vextar understood that his species, along with all the others in the Council, had blood on their hands that could never be washed clean. The next morning, Dongwu took the alien visitors to the communication center. He was younger than the other humans they had met, but his eyes held the same sadness that seemed to live in all of them. Before you leave, Dongwu said, there's more you need to understand. Haven Colony isn't alone. He led them into a room filled with screens and complex equipment. The technology was clearly far beyond anything the Council used, but it had a simple, clean design that was somehow beautiful. Show them, Dongwu, Wubin said quietly. Dongwu's fingers moved across a control panel and the screens came alive. Star maps appeared, showing the galaxy from a perspective the aliens had never seen. Small points of light blinked across the rim territories. 47 colonies, Dongwu said. Each one hidden, each one surviving in its own way. Captain Vextar stared at the map. The scale of it was overwhelming. 47? How is that possible? When the Great Silence began, Dongwu explained, some humans had time to escape. They scattered in every direction, taking whatever ships they could find. Over the centuries, we found each other again. Jiwoo entered the room carrying a stack of data tablets. She was a serious woman with short hair and quick movements. I coordinate intelligence between the colonies, she said. I know where every hidden human community is located. She handed tablets to each of the aliens. The information on them was staggering. Colony Whisper lives inside an asteroid belt, Jiwoo explained. They've been mining there for 300 years. The local government thinks they're just very good Karathi workers. New Terra hides on a moon that's supposed to be uninhabitable, she continued. They use underground cities and only come out at night. Some colonies don't have planets at all, Dongwu added. They live on space stations that move constantly, never staying in one place for more than a few months. Du-hyun stepped forward. And some of us live among you, he said. We've changed our appearance, learned your languages and customs, and taken jobs throughout Council space. How many? Dr. Zintar asked. Several thousand, Sojin replied. Maybe more. We work as engineers, scientists, teachers, traders. We're everywhere, but you never notice us. Yunseo, an elderly historian, joined the group. She carried an old book made of real paper, something the aliens hadn't seen in centuries. The hidden network does more than just survive, she said. For 800 years we've been helping the galaxy in secret. Helping how? Vextar asked. Yunseo opened her book and showed them pages covered with neat handwriting. Remember the Andorian plague 60 years ago? The cure that appeared mysteriously and saved millions of lives? That was us. The new fusion technology that revolutionized energy production 40 years ago? Dongwu said. A human engineer named Taemin invented it. He left the plans where Karathi scientists would find them. The warning about the supernova in the Rigel sector that saved 12 worlds? Jiwoo added. Our deep space observer saw it coming and sent anonymous messages to the Council. The aliens looked at each other in amazement. Some of the Council's greatest achievements had actually been human gifts. Why? Grishtar asked. Why help people who tried to kill you? Because it was the right thing to do, Wubin said simply. We never wanted revenge. We just wanted to live. But we couldn't watch others suffer when we had the power to help. Yunseo turned more pages in her book. The atmospheric processors that made dead worlds livable again. The shield technology that protects ships from cosmic storms. The medical scanners that can detect diseases before symptoms appear. All human inventions given freely to the galaxy. We've been your guardian angels, Jiwoo said with a bitter smile. Watching over you, protecting you, helping you grow. All while hiding from the very people we were helping. Captain Vextar felt sick. His people had been receiving gifts from the species they had tried to exterminate. The irony was crushing. There's something else, Dongwu said quietly. He activated another screen, showing communication logs. We've been monitoring Council communications for centuries. We know about every threat, every crisis, every problem. The Vorthak Civil War 30 years ago, he continued, looking at Greshtar. It ended when mysterious supplies appeared on both sides. Not weapons, but food and medicine. Supplies that made both armies realize they were fighting over things that didn't matter. Greshtar's scales turned pale. My brother was in that war. Those supplies saved thousands of lives. The Zalani colony ship that got lost in a spatial anomaly, Sojin said, looking at Toresh. Anonymous rescue coordinates appeared in their computers just in time. All 300 colonists survived. That was my cousin's ship, Toresh whispered. We've stopped 3 potential wars, prevented 2 genocides, and saved countless lives from natural disasters, Yunseo said, all while staying hidden, all while knowing that discovery could mean our death. The room fell silent. The weight of what they were learning was enormous. An entire species had spent centuries secretly protecting the galaxy that had tried to destroy them. The galaxy has been struggling, Jiwoo said. Wars are more common now than they were before the Great Silence. Disease spreads faster. Technology advances more slowly. Do you know why? The aliens shook their heads. Because you killed your conscience, she said simply. Humans were never the strongest or the smartest species in the galaxy. But we were the ones who asked, what if we tried to help instead of compete? We were the ones who said, maybe there's a better way. Without us working openly with you, Dongwu added, the galaxy has become harder, colder, more suspicious. Species trust each other less. Cooperation is rare. Everyone looks out for themselves first. But we kept helping anyway, Wubin said, because we believe the galaxy can be better. We believe all species can live together in peace. Captain Vextar looked around the room at the evidence of humanity's secret care for the galaxy, maps showing hidden colonies, logs of anonymous help given freely, records of lives saved and disasters prevented. What happens now? He asked. What do you want us to do with this information? That's up to you, Wubin said. We've decided to stop hiding. If the galaxy can handle the truth, then maybe it's time for humans to come home. If not, he shrugged, we'll keep surviving like we always have. The aliens left the communication center with their minds reeling. They had come expecting to find a new species to catalog. Instead, they had discovered a mirror showing them exactly what their civilization had become and what it had lost. The journey back to Council space took 3 weeks. Captain Vexistar spent most of that time in his quarters, studying the evidence the humans had given him. Do-hyun and Sojin no longer hid their true appearance. The crew had accepted them easily, though many were still struggling with the truth. In-ho and Soo-young, 2 human volunteers, had come with them to speak to the council. Both were nervous but determined. They had lived their entire lives in hiding, and the thought of standing before the galaxy's leaders was terrifying. "What if they don't believe us?" Soo-young asked as they approached the council homeworld. "They'll have to," Vextar said. "The evidence is too strong to ignore." The council chambers were massive, designed to hold representatives from 300 different species. When Vextar requested an emergency session to present his findings, nearly every seat was filled. Word had spread that something important was happening. Chancellor Mordak of the Vorthak presided over the session. He was old even for his long-lived species, and his scales were more gray than green. His family had been in politics for generations. "Captain Vextar," Mordak said in his deep voice, "you claim to have made a discovery that will change our understanding of galactic history. Present your evidence." Vextar stood at the center of the chamber. The weight of what he was about to reveal pressed down on him like a physical force. 847 years ago, he began, the Galactic Council committed genocide against a species called humanity. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Representatives jumped to their feet, demanding explanations. Mordak called for order. "That is a serious accusation, Captain," Mordak said. "Do you have proof?" Vextar activated the holographic displays. The chamber fell silent as the ancient council records appeared. Voting tallies, communication logs, and military orders. All of it bore official seals and authentication codes. "The records are clear," Vextar said. "The council voted to exterminate humanity completely. The reason given was that humans were too aggressive and unpredictable for galactic peace." Representative Cathara of the Zilani stood up. "These could be forgeries. Where did you get them?" "From the survivors," Vextar said. He gestured, and In-ho and Soo-young stepped forward. The chamber gasped as they saw beings that looked almost familiar but not quite like any known species. "My name is In-ho," the male human said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "I am human. My people have been hiding at the galaxy's edge for 8 centuries. We are not extinct," Soo-young added. "We survived your attempt to destroy us," chaos erupted again. Representatives shouted questions, denials, and demands for more proof. Some called for the humans to be arrested. Others demanded to know how this was possible. Chancellor Mordak slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor. "Order, we will hear them out." For the next 6 hours, the evidence was presented. Ancient documents, survivor testimonies, and proof of the hidden human network. The aliens listened in growing horror as the scope of the genocide became clear. Dr. Yitherin, the council's chief historian, verified the authenticity of the records. "The documents are genuine," she announced. "They match the quantum signatures of our archives from that time period. But this is impossible," said Representative Beltar of the Karathi. "The council has always stood for peace and cooperation." "Not always," In-ho said quietly. "You voted to kill us because we were different, because we asked too many questions and wanted to try new things." Soo-young activated a personal hologram, showing images from the memorial wall on Haven Colony. "These are the names of the dead. 12 billion humans murdered by council fleets." The images continued to scroll, showing name after name after name. The representatives watched in stunned silence as the true scale of the atrocity became clear. "Why should we believe you want peace?" Representative Gorthek of the Mandorians demanded. "If this is true, why haven't you returned for revenge?" "Because revenge would make us just like you," Soo-young replied. "We chose to be better." In-ho stepped forward. "For 800 years, we've been helping the galaxy in secret. The cures for diseases, the warnings about disasters, the technologies that made your lives better, they came from us." He activated another display, showing the long list of anonymous gifts humans had given to the galaxy. "The Karathi drought relief 40 years ago," he said, looking at Representative Beltar. "Human atmospheric processors ended that crisis. The Vorthak plague vaccine," he continued, turning to Chancellor Mordak. "Developed by human scientists working in secret. The early warning system that prevented the collision with asteroid cluster Omega-7, he said to the Zilani representative. Human deep space observers saw it coming. Each revelation hit the chamber like a physical blow. The species that they had tried to destroy had been their secret protector for centuries. "We could have let you suffer," Su Young said. "We could have watched your children die from diseases we knew how to cure. We could have stayed silent when disasters threatened your worlds, but we didn't, because that's not who we are." Chancellor Mordak looked older than his 800 years. "If this is true," he said slowly, "then the Council has committed the greatest crime in galactic history." "It is true," said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Elder Zorgast of the Eternal Hegemony entering the chamber. The Hegemony was the oldest known species, with lifespans measured in millennia. Zorgast had been alive during the Great Silence. "I was there," Zorgast said, his ancient voice carrying the weight of centuries. "I voted against the extermination, but I was outnumbered. I have carried the shame of that decision for 800 years. The chamber fell completely silent. Humans were never aggressive. Zorgast continued. They were curious. They asked questions we didn't want to answer. They proposed changes we weren't ready to accept. They made us uncomfortable by being different. He looked around the chamber at the shocked faces. So we killed them. We told ourselves it was for the good of the galaxy, but it was really because we were afraid. Afraid of change, afraid of losing our comfortable positions, afraid of being challenged. And now? Chancellor Mordak asked. Now we face the consequences, Zorgas said. The galaxy has been a darker place without human curiosity and compassion. Wars are more common, cooperation is rare, and progress has slowed to a crawl. We cut out our own heart and wondered why the body grew cold. News of the revelation spread across the galaxy within hours. On world after world, people gathered to hear the truth. Some denied it, calling it propaganda or lies, but many believed, and their reaction was immediate and powerful. Protests erupted on dozens of council worlds. Young people, horrified by their ancestors' crimes, demanded justice and change. Economic systems trembled as trust between species cracked. Governments fell as populations learned what had been done in their names. The galaxy wept for what it had lost, and for what it had become. But in that grief, something new began to grow. A determination to be better, to never again let fear and hatred destroy what should be cherished. The humans had forgiven them, but now the galaxy had to learn to forgive itself. 6 months after the Great Revelation, the galaxy was still in chaos, but it was the kind of chaos that comes before something new is born. Governments had fallen, but better ones were rising to take their place. Old alliances had broken, but new friendships were forming. Byung-ho arrived at the council homeworld as the unofficial spokesman for all hidden human settlements. He was a philosopher by training, but had spent decades studying galactic politics from the shadows. His calm wisdom had helped hold the human communities together during their darkest times. The new council chambers were smaller than the old ones, designed to encourage conversation rather than grand speeches. Only 50 species had seats now, those who had publicly accepted responsibility for the genocide and committed to making amends. "The question before us," Byung-ho said to the assembled representatives, "is not how to punish the guilty. The question is how to build something better." Chancellor Kiraheth of the reformed Zelani coalition leaned forward. She was young for a leader, chosen by her people specifically because she represented a new generation free from the old prejudices. "What do humans want from us?" she asked. "What would justice look like?" "Justice would be ensuring this never happens again," Byung-ho replied. "Justice would be creating a galaxy where being different is celebrated, not feared." Subin stood up from her seat in the observers section. She was one of the human engineers who had revealed themselves after the disclosure. Her technology had already revolutionized 3 different industries. "We don't want revenge," she said. "We want partnership. Let me show you what we could accomplish together." She activated a holographic display showing designs for a new type of space station. It was beautiful and functional, incorporating the best ideas from dozens of different species. "This is a research station designed by humans and Althani working together," Subin explained. "It could house scientists from every species, sharing knowledge freely and openly. The energy systems are based on human fusion technology," she continued, "but improved by Karathi mathematics and protected by Vorthak shields. Together we created something none of us could build alone." Juan stepped forward with a medical scanner in his hands. He was young but brilliant, having spent his life developing treatments in secret. This device can detect over 3,000 diseases in their earliest stages, he said. It works on every known species biology. My team included humans, Zilani, and Mandorians. We shared our knowledge and created something that will save millions of lives. He paused, looking around the chamber. But we had to work in secret, hiding our contributions. Imagine what we could do if we worked openly. Not everyone was ready to accept humans back into galactic society. Kaite spoke for the hardline human settlements that wanted to remain hidden. Why should we trust them? He demanded. They tried to kill us once. What stops them from trying again when we become inconvenient? Representative Thekmore of the Mandorian clan stood up. His people had been among the most vocal supporters of the original genocide. Because we've seen what the galaxy becomes without you, he said. 800 years of war, mistrust, and stagnation. We need human curiosity and compassion. We need your questions and your different ways of thinking. Pretty words, Kitai replied. But words are easy. What guarantees do we have? The answer came from an unexpected source. Elder Zorgast, who had lived through the original genocide, stood slowly. The guarantee is that we remember, he said. We remember our shame and we teach it to our children. Every species in this chamber has established memorial sites for the human dead. We will never forget what we did and why it was wrong. Yujin, a young human artist, had been working with alien creators throughout the galaxy. Her sculptures now stood in public squares on a dozen worlds representing unity and hope. Art helps us remember, she said, but it also helps us dream of better futures. Look, her latest work appeared as a hologram, a spiraling tower that seemed to dance with light and motion. Different sections represented different species, but they all flowed together into something greater. This will be built on New Unity Station, she explained, a place where all species can live and work together, where children grow up seeing diversity as normal and beautiful. Sung Woo, the human architect, had designed cities that were already being built on reformed worlds. His plans included spaces for every type of being, from crystalline Althani who needed mineral baths to gas giant dwellers who lived in floating pods. Architecture shapes how we think, he said. When you build walls, you create separation. When you build bridges, you create connection. The integration wasn't easy. Some extremist groups on both sides tried to prevent cooperation. A terrorist attack on New Terra was stopped by mixed human-alien security forces. A plot to poison human settlements was exposed by Korathi intelligence officers. But for every act of hatred, there were 10 acts of hope. Schools opened where human and alien children learned together. Mixed research teams made breakthrough discoveries weekly. Trade flourished as human creativity combined with alien resources and knowledge. The galaxy's economy grew stronger than it had been in centuries. Medical advances eliminated diseases that had plagued species for millennia. New technologies made space travel safer and more efficient. Most importantly, the galaxy's spirit was healing. Wonho stood before the final session of the Transition Council, about to become the first human elected to galactic leadership in over 800 years. We gathered today not to celebrate our past, he said, but to choose our future. Humans were never special because we were stronger or smarter than other species. We were special because we believed in something simple, that differences make us stronger, not weaker. He looked around the chamber at faces both familiar and alien. The galaxy that tried to destroy us is gone, he continued. In its place, we're building something new. A civilization based on cooperation instead of domination. A society that celebrates curiosity instead of fearing it. A galaxy where being different is a gift, not a threat. The vote was unanimous. The new Galactic Alliance was born, with humans and aliens working as true partners for the first time in history. Later that night, as celebration lights filled the sky of 100 worlds, Do-hyun stood with So-jin on the observation deck of the new Alliance headquarters. They could finally be themselves, finally be proud of who they were. Do you think we did the right thing? So-jin asked, coming out of hiding. Do-hyun smiled, watching ships from dozens of species dock peacefully at the station around them. Look around, he said. For 800 years we survived by hiding. But survival isn't enough anymore. Now we get to live. In the distance, a mixed crew of humans and aliens worked together to build a new exploration ship. It would carry them beyond the galaxy's edge into the unknown, seeking new life and new civilizations. But this time they would go in peace, united by the simple truth that the universe was vast enough for everyone and beautiful enough to share. The galaxy had wept for its crimes, but from those tears grew something magnificent, a civilization that would never again let fear destroy what should be cherished. Humanity had survived at the galaxy's edge, but they had done more than that. They had saved the galaxy's soul.